Depicted in the 2002 hit movie Catch Me If You Can, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, the true story of Frank Abagale Jr. is a tale almost too good for Hollywood. Before the age of 21, Abagale had cashed millions in fraudulent checks, posed as an airline pilot for Pan Am, a doctor, and yes, even a lawyer, too. He actually passed the bar exam in the state of Louisiana, a very difficult bar exam. The real Frank Abagale is with us this morning with more on not just his story, but also as a leading authority on forgery and identity theft. Frank, it's a pleasure to have you on the broadcast. I must say right off the bat, I was a huge fan of the movie, and I'd like you to kind of tell us how true to life is that actual movie.
Well, you know, I thought Steven Spielberg did a wonderful job of telling the story. He loved the redemption side of the story. That's why he made the movie. He was amazed by the things that I did as a teenage boy, but more so what I did with my life 40 years later. And I thought he stayed very close to the story. He brought the 3 FBI agents in that were retired on the set. I thought he did a very good job of being accurate in telling the story as it was.
Now, I know Carl Hanratty, the late Carl Hanratty, and you were very close. He was depicted by Tom Hanks in the movie Catch Me If You Can. All right, let's talk about this. How difficult would it be for somebody to actually do this today? I'm actually catching a flight today, and I got to thinking about this. You used to deadhead on Pan Am planes and really travel all over the world, meeting stewardesses, staying in wonderful locations. I mean, obviously, you've turned your life around in a very positive way, but could somebody actually get away with this today, Frank?
Well, you know, what I did 50 years ago is 4,000 times easier to do today just because of the technology. Well, the only thing that I think that I did that might be a little more difficult is getting on board an airplane, because back when I did those things, there were no hijackings, there weren't any terrorism. But still today, when you think about it, making up an airline ID card would be a very simple thing to do with the technology and the graphics that are available. And you see how they're very easily looked at when someone walks through. They don't really pay that much attention to them. So I don't know it would be that difficult, unfortunately, even today.
Frank, I'm looking at you right now through our monitors here, and you're a nice-looking man. You present very well. I think that that's part of it. In the movie, your dad has a famous quote that he says, "Do you know why the Yankees always win? It's because of those darn pinstripes." In other words, people sometimes can be fooled by the trickery and not actually what's happening. Does that hold true? Was that part of what worked for you?
Absolutely, and still today more so like on the internet. So a site comes up and you email and it comes supposedly from your bank. It has your bank logo on it. It looks just like your bank's website, but it's not your bank. It's a scammer in Russia and China and North Korea trying to get information from you. So it's the same thing today, just technology has made it easier.
Frank, how much money did you cash in fraudulent checks overall?
Well, I was convicted on about $2.5 million, but I was a young kid, so they recovered $2 million of it, and I paid back the other $500,000 many years ago.
Yeah, and I know you've gone on to do great things. You've got 3 sons of your own now who are all respected professionals, one in the FBI as well. So now you're one of the world's most respected authorities on forgery, which makes perfect sense. What just happened with Ashley Madison last week, 30 million email accounts hacked. Frank, what can people do to protect themselves online?
These are just the things that I recommend. First of all, I ask people to do what I do. Have a shredder, shred everything. I use a microcut shredder so that it's like a little graffiti. You can't put it back together again. I use a credit monitoring service. I've used one since the 1990s. That monitors all 3 bureaus, notifies you in real time. I don't write a lot of checks in today's environment. If I go in a store and write a check, on the check is my name and address and phone number, my bank's name and address, my account number at that bank, my routing number into that account, my signature on the signature card, and then the clerk has written my date of birth and driver's license. So I don't do that. And of course, I'm not on a social media site, but if I was, you can rest assured I wouldn't be telling people where I was born and my date of birth. Otherwise, I might as well say, come steal my identity. And finally, I don't use a debit card. I only use a credit card, because if someone's going to steal something, I'd rather them steal the credit card company's money than my money out of my account. And if you go to aarp.org/fraudwatchnetwork, you'll find a lot more tips about protecting your identity and your family from being victimized.
That is Frank William Abagale Jr. joining us live this morning from Washington, D.C. In 5 seconds, Frank, did you really pass the bar in Louisiana? All right, that is Frank William Abagale. It appears we've lost the window. We thank Frank for his time this morning. Very interesting to speak with him. Right now, we've got another interesting thing happening right now. The Baby and Child Expo is happening this weekend.